Today's episode is sponsored by Raul Rodriguez Law.
When you're in an auto accident, you shouldn't be concerned with legal runarounds, just real advice. You deserve an attorney ready to work for you, an attorney that won't back down.
I've lost loved ones due to the negligence of others. If you or a loved one has been injured in an auto accident, I want to be there for you.
Raul B. Rodriguez and his team care about ensuring you and your family are represented, whether on the road or in the workplace. Raul is real, and Raul won't back down. Call 210-899-0300 to schedule a free consultation.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Leija Lounge, the podcast that pulls no punches. Y'all know me, still the same OG, James Leija II, a.k.a. Rumble Boy. Let's see who we got lounging with us today. With me, as always, first at bat, my brother, Mr. San Antonio, Dean Leija. Our father, two-time world champion from right here in San Antonio, Texas, Jesse James Leija.
There he is.
With over 20 plus years of putting on great shows and events all across South Texas, a great family friend to the Leijas and a board member of the Leija Family Foundation, Mr. Mark Solis. Hey, that was good, right? A boxing trainer at the boxing institution that is Leija Boxing and Fitness, a gym that we own and operate here in San Antonio, Texas. The best hand rapper inside Loop 410, Christian Castillo. And today, guys, we have a very special episode. We have a very special guest. For y'all listening today, I want you to find your favorite pair of house shoes. I want you to find your favorite place to sit, and I want you to pour yourself a glass of your favorite wine. Because today, we have the opportunity to not only speak to a San Antonio legend, a San Antonio Spurs legend, but also an Arizona basketball legend. The third overall pick in the 1989 NBA draft, the two-time NBA All-Star, and a member of the 1999 NBA champion San Antonio Spurs, number 32, the Ninja, Mr. Memorial Day Miracle, Sean Elliott.
Sean Elliott.
He is. Sean, thank you for joining the podcast today. Thank you for joining us in the lounge today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
I think I speak for everybody by saying we had so much fun preparing for you.
Oh, that's good, man. I love to hear that, James.
Yeah. First things first, we just want to see how you're feeling. We know you had a little bit of a medical scare. Great story, by the way.
Yeah.
We know you've been on the golf course lately. What's the day in the
life? You can tell by my color. It started getting dark.
What's the day like for you? What you been up to lately?
Oh, well, listen, I have the cushiest job in the NBA, and all my friends know that. So in the summertime, I get to play golf. I get to travel. Stress-free is how I like to live, because during the season, it's a grind.
Yeah.
So once it's over, I like to get away from basketball. Just like to enjoy myself, spend time with my family, my kids whenever I can see them, and just have a good time with my friends. I mean, that's what I basically do in the summertime. I just decompress.
The Leija Family Foundation, which is what we are, we're so big on mental health and taking that time for yourself and recovery and all that. Sounds like you got a great handle on that.
No, that's absolutely huge. I don't think people take enough time for themselves. My wife talks about it all the time. I mean, my favorite thing, a lot of people don't really know this about me, is that I'm really more of an introvert than you would think. I like to be at home. I am a homeboy, homebody. I don't miss opportunities to stay at home in the afternoon or in the evening and just chill and relax. I mean, and I do like to be by myself. I like to have a lot of quiet time too. So, yeah, I mean, I take a lot of time for myself. I am guilty of that.
Yeah, you guys, I don't know, it's good. It's something everyone should do.
Yeah, because you know more than anybody, when I walk out of the door, most of the time I have to be on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't really have a bad day. So whenever I walk out, or I'm going to a store or going to the golf course or going anywhere, pretty much, I run into people. And, I always try to treat people with kindness and be cordial to people. So, if I'm having a bad day, things aren't working out for me, I still got to be, hey, what's up? James, good to see you, man. And so I always have to be on. And so for me, I like to, sometimes just, stay at home and relax.
What's the day like for you at home? Like, what does Sean do to relax? Are you cooking? Are you reading?
I got to get a workout in.
Okay.
All right, that's like for my mental health.
In the morning, afternoon?
In the morning.
Okay.
In the morning. If I don't get a workout in, I get grumpy.
Yeah.
Right.
I need that for my mental clarity, my focus. I feel like I need to accomplish something that day. And even if I don't go out, I got a little hitting bay in my garage.
Oh, wow.
I'll go and hit some balls, chill, get some emails done or some, lounge around. Right now I'm working on my French, which isn't going too well. And I'm trying to improve my Spanish because I've been like this speaking Spanish for the last 40 years. Because I grew up in Tucson, and I'm trying to go to that next level. So I need to, necesito practicar.
Is your wife speaking Spanish to you at home?
Only when she's mad.
Yeah. Just the bad words.
She's pretty good. We have housekeepers and they try, but most of the time it's like, ¿Cómo estás? Bien.
Yeah.
And then, boom.
See you later.
Yeah, adios.
Right.
So it's just kind of, it's workout and it's, daily household stuff, whatever, and email, regular stuff, and you're just kind of chilling.
But things pile up, I got stuff to do later on today. I got
Does
Zoom
Sean
calls.
take out his own trash? Okay. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So you hear that? You hear that, Celeste? Sean didn't take his trash out. Why am I doing it?
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
Right.
Once
Are they
or
yelling
twice
at
a
you?
year. Once or twice a year.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. That's cool. Nice.
But I do wash dishes.
Okay.
I'll do that, and then my wife's gonna be like, "Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'll wash
Are
dishes, and
you
I'll
doing the dishes, or is it going into the dishwasher?
I'll rinse them and load them in the dishwasher.
There you go. Look at it.
Gentlemen, dude. Yeah. So, like we said, we had so much fun preparing for you today. Christian has just been amazed by your college career. I know he has tons of questions for you about that. Taking you back to Arizona, I hope you don't mind taking a little trip back.
Oh, I love it.
But yeah, he has some great information that he was telling me about that. I was just like, wow, it was just amazing,
Yeah. You're a San Antonio basketball hero. You're also a hometown hero. But you were kind of leading this charge with the new coach and Steve Kerr and Coach Olson. Because Arizona really wasn't nothing before you got there. You took your visit your junior year. What was it about Arizona that made you want to come into an up-and-coming program or, like, stay at home, really?
Yeah, well, I grew up a basketball junkie, and these older guys can tell you, back in the day there were 3 or 4 channels. So like Saturday morning was college basketball for me. So for me, I watched Carolina, Michigan, Indiana, and that's where I wanted to play. That's where I dreamed of playing, with the big boys.
And the Blue Bloods.
Yeah. And so, coming up through high school, even then I wasn't really heavily recruited. A lot of people don't know that. Growing up in Tucson, it wasn't like it was a hotbed of basketball talent. So the scouts, I always joke, the scouts went to Tucson. The only time they came to Tucson was to gas up on their way to Phoenix or LA, right? So my first 2 years in high school, I didn't really know if I was good enough to play college basketball. Honestly, the end of my junior year, I started to become a lot better player, and Coach Olson came in, and he said, it was actually the end of my sophomore year, he came in and he said, "Hey, I'm going to change this program, and you better get your tickets now." And you have to realize my sophomore year, I got tickets to the Arizona game. It was Oregon at Arizona. I'll never forget it. Arizona finished that year 4-24.
Wow.
And I went to the game. There were 200 people at the game. I had nosebleed seats.
And as in Tucson, so you probably knew like 199 of them.
I probably knew everybody. Yeah. And so the usher came, saw me up there and said, "Hey, young man, come on down," and took me all the way to the second row. There was no one in the arena. And I remember watching the game and said, there's no way that if I was good enough, I'd want to play here. So Coach Olson comes in, the end of that year, he said, "Get your tickets now." Well, my junior season in high school, I got invited to an Arizona game, and it was packed. And you could tell he turned it around overnight. So at that point, I was thinking, wait a minute, maybe this guy's not so crazy. Maybe I can have the opportunity to play big-time college basketball right here. My mom and my brothers and my dad, they can all come watch me play. And so, and at that time also, I wasn't very heavily recruited. The letters started coming in beginning of my senior season after I'd gone to 5-star basketball camp. That's when I got recognized. But by then it was kind of too late. I figured Why go somewhere far away when I can play right here? And that's when I decided I was going to stay at Arizona.
I have a question. So the late great Lute Olson, aside from like his amazing record that he had, I think it was 580 wins and under 200 losses, amazing record. What were the characteristics or traits that he had that made you want to play for him and throughout your college career?
He was just he was honest, and he had a lot of integrity. And the guy just knew the game. It was mind-blowing the first couple practices to see how much I didn't know. Because it's like when I tell straight games or I call games, there's so much now that I see that, because I have a trained eye. It's like if you're watching a boxing match, you have a trained eye, or a lot of people don't really know what they're looking at. Right. So I watched all these college basketball games, NBA games, and I just saw guys running around. And then that first couple of weeks with Coach Olson, I was like, good Lord, all this is really structured. Like, people are supposed to be in a spot. You're supposed to have your feet the right way. You shouldn't have your back to the ball in this situation. You got to jump to the ball. All these technical points, but more importantly, it was his integrity. There was a game at the end of my junior year. They had a chance to win. It was Coach Olson's first season. They had a chance to win the Pac-10 championship at the time, and they were playing at Oregon State. They had a curfew, and the team captain, who's a friend of mine, who's a great guy, by the way, skipped out and missed curfew. Wow. And Coach suspended him for the game. Wow. And so a lot of people were giving him flack, like, hey, Coach, come on, you have a chance to win the championship, turn it around from one year to the next. And he took a lot of flack in the Tucson newspapers, and he got back to his office that following week, and there was a note on his desk, and the note said, "You're the kind of coach I want my kid to play for," and it was written by my mom.
Wow.
So that was pretty amazing.
That's powerful.
Yeah, so
right there.
he was the type of guy that he was super honest. He was tough. He was almost like a god to us. He'd walk out on the court before practice, and he had this kind of aura.
He was floating. Floating a little bit.
Yeah, but he knew his stuff, man. He's like, he gave me a great basketball foundation, gave Steve Kerr a great basketball foundation. A lot of guys that played for him end up playing in the league. So many guys over the years because he was just really brilliant in his approach and his knowledge.
We kind of follow up on that a little bit, Sean. What lessons, besides the on-court stuff, but what lessons did you take away from Coach that you still are instilled in you now and something that you might be passing on to your kids?
Wow, just like I said before, maybe honesty and integrity, and also, a sense of family. And it's also, when you talk about a sense of family, it's also one of the big reasons I wanted to come back to San Antonio after I got traded to Detroit. When I had an opportunity to go other places, it felt more like a family here. And that's what Coach O instilled. And that was his wife, Bobby Olson. She was like the matriarch of the program. But Coach instilled a family type of atmosphere. Our first Final Four in 1988, all those guys, we all still stay in touch with each other. And matter of fact, it was a few years ago, we were playing the Golden State Warriors, and I was on the court before the game saying hi to Steve and Bruce Frazier. He's the guy. He's got I kid him, he looks like a mountain goat. He's got all this gray hair, and he's the guy who warms up Steph Curry. And so he was on that team as well. Wow. And their PR guy came over and he said, you know what, there's something special about you Arizona guys. He goes, I see all the other guys come from all these other programs, and they may acknowledge each other, but you guys have a genuine love for each other. Wow. And so that team, that 88 team and 89 after that, it was like we were tight knit. We were like a family, and that was all came from Coach and Bobby Olson.
That's beautiful, man. Family.
Yeah. Most important thing.
That's right.
And I think that's what it is. Like with the Spurs now, we do the same thing. The gym we have, it becomes family where everybody just, the class is over and everyone's hanging around talking. I think we have that.
And what Pop always says too, it's bigger than basketball, and it sounds like Coach O is the one who also brought that same feel. It's bigger than us, and I feel like that's at the end of the day, it's family.
Yeah, I mean, you got your boys here.
Yeah.
You know, that's at the end of the day, that is the most important thing, because your career is only, 10 or 12, 15 years. I don't know how long boxing careers are. Sometimes they're much longer, but when that's over, your family, they were there before, they're there through your career, they're there after your career. That should always be your number one priority.
Yeah, always.
Do you feel like there's a lot that guys are missing out on? I mean, now today's basketball is so different, but you stayed all 4 years. Back then it was, you're staying all 4 years and you develop that sense of family. Is there something that these guys are missing with the one and dones and all that?
Absolutely.
May not be on the court, but it's definitely off the court.
You're like the powder keg now. Because it's a lot of things. It's the game, it's the camaraderie, it's maturity.
NIL.
Right.
NIL now.
NILs and the transfer portals made things, a lot crazier, where there's no loyalty anymore. There's no sense of commitment. It's like, all right, if I don't like what's going on, the coach is yelling at me, I can skip out. My sophomore year at Arizona, Coach Olson was on my ass every day. I mean, he was in me. I mean, I think I went home 3 or 4 times that year, and I went to my dorm room and I was in tears. I cried. And then one day I called my mom and said, Mom, I don't want to be here anymore. And she's like, boy, you ain't going anywhere, right? And if I was this kid who was getting $1 million NIL and I could hit the transfer portal, who knows where I end up, because I get my feelings hurt, coaches on my ass. And I remember talking to one of my assistant coaches. I called him. I said, hey, Coach T, Coach Olson's, he's on my ass every day. He's yelling at me constantly. And he said, the reason he yells at you is because he cares.
Exactly.
If he didn't yell at you, that's when you start worrying.
Yeah.
And so that's a lesson that I think a lot of guys miss. And they miss the camaraderie and the teamwork, being with guys for 4 years. They miss the maturity that where you have to be more responsible for yourself, going to class, taking care of yourself, being responsible to the guys, left and right. Because when you get to the NBA and you start making all this money, and guys, you have teammates, but they're not really like your family most of the time. James might play the same position as me, and he might look at me as a threat. Like, I don't like this young guy. I'm trying to make my money. He's not helping me like in college. We're helping each other out. It's a whole different dynamic. And a lot of guys come in, they're not financially literate. They're not mature enough to handle, being away from the court and all the pitfalls, because it's sharks and piranhas out there. That's one of my financial advisors told me. He's like, you got to watch out for the sharks and piranhas, because you sign a contract and there are 100 people lined up to try to take it away from you. For sure. And a lot of guys aren't prepared for that.
So college sports is evolving, right?
Right.
Name, image, and likeness, transfer portal. So it's evolving, and I guess everyone's had an opinion on how to fix it or where it should go. Do you have such?
I don't have the answers to that.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I feel like players should get some kind of money.
Yes. I think everybody agrees with that.
I do believe that. I mean, the NCAA rules were so absurd when I went to school.
It was unfair in a way.
It was unfair. I tell the story about Coach Olson all the time. They pulled me out of class. My senior year, Coach Olson sent a grad assistant, and the grad assistant's like, hey, Coach O needs you. So I go down to the arena, and Coach is like, hey, you need to come with me to Rotary Club to speak. And it was just an impromptu thing. So we go to Rotary Club, we speak. I hadn't eaten lunch. And at the time, I didn't have any money. Like, my mom would give me $20 a month, and I would stretch it out, right? So I get in the car. Coach says, hey, have you eaten anything? I was like, no, Coach, I'm starving. So he pulls out his wallet, and he's got a bunch of cash in there, and he rips out a 20, and I'm already in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to get 2 McDonald's cheeseburgers, I'm going to get a Coke, and I'm going to pocket the rest of it. And Coach is like, bring me my receipt and my change. I said, damn.
Yeah.
Like, he could have given me all the money in his wallet, and it was just us in the car. Yeah. But, he that would have been a violation, and he was like, squeaky clean. Yeah. And there were things like, we couldn't hold a job during the season. We could only have, a summer job in the off season, make a little bit of money. And so most of the guys were struggling. They didn't have a lot of money. And so I feel like guys should get, something. Now it's to a point where, guys are making high six figures, and I kind of feel like sometimes that undermines a coach.
Yeah.
Because you might say, Sean, didn't I tell you to cut off the baseline? Didn't we talk about this? And you can get on my ass. And if I take it the wrong way, I can, I'm like, okay, coach, whatever. I'm making $500,000 or I'm making $1 million, or I can hit the transfer portal. Don't talk to me like that. And that's how I think the dynamic has changed.
Yeah. And then it's going to be rough. Like I said, going forward, I don't know, man. I see it's like players were due what they should earn.
Right.
But it kind of opened up Pandora's box.
Yeah, no
because
question.
At what point does it kind of like stop? Like everyone's going to start seeing this pot of gold. And so smart people start going, well, you should get a little bit more of that. You should get a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
And then where does it
You
go?
can see it as an incentive to stay in college.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can learn those things by making money in there, right? It's not so let's get out and let's go to the pros real quick and let's rush our career, but you can stay in college a little bit longer.
That probably changed some of those kids just jumping out after the first year. Hey, I can learn more here, create myself, figure out who I am, what type of player am I, and learn so much before I go to the NBA.
No question, especially if you're making some money where you can help your family, you can help support your family a little bit. And, I don't want to sound too old school, but, you go to school not only to play basketball or play football, but to get an education, right? Because everybody that goes and plays college basketball or football, everybody thinks they're Michael Jordan. Everybody thinks they're going to make it to the NBA, and the reality is so few of them are. And so you should go with the idea of getting your degree first, and then you can fall back on it if you don't end up playing professionally.
Yeah. Taking it back to 89, Sean, drafted 3rd overall, projected first, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, 1989 Spurs, right? The year that I feel is just, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel is just very not talked about as much of an impact that was, right? First year we see David, we had the right storm for 2 years. First year we see David coming in, you're drafted, we got Terry Cummings, we got Rod Strickland, we got all these guys coming in, and it's a totally new season. It's a totally new year for the Spurs, right? We got new uniforms. It's like a revamp, right, of like the old Spurs, the ABA, NBA merger Spurs, George Gervin, Silas, all these guys. And in come y'all. The question I always wondered was, are you, is that 89 Spurs team, are y'all the baseline for the way we see the Spurs right now, the community Spurs? San Antonio, we have a great relationship with the Spurs. We've talked to a lot of guys this week about you, right? And they've said, Sean is so much of an integral part of connecting the community to the team, right? With these commercials you did and all this stuff.
Yeah.
That integrity that you brought in from Arizona that we see with the Spurs, was that set already with Gervin and with these guys that, these older players in the NBA, ABA, NBA merger guys, or was that really you and David following suit, or were y'all kind of bringing that sense of family, camaraderie, loyalty to that team?
I think they're yes and no. It was great to have Ice around and Johnny Moore. Mike Mitchell's one of my all-time favorite teammates. He came in and that was like my first or second year and really tried to help me out and show me the ropes and show me the game. And so that to me was really impressive, but I don't think our culture was there like it is now. We needed a little boost. We needed a shift. And that happened when Pop and RC came back in 94, 95.
That was when you came back.
Yeah, when I came back. And that's really the reason I came back, because I knew that Pop was the general manager. I didn't want to be in Detroit anymore. I told them mid-season I wanted out. They tried to trade me to Houston. I failed my physical. And so I had to go back and play for them the rest of the season. But at the end of that season, I knew I wasn't coming back. I knew that, and I told them that. And
this is the time Pop was at Golden State.
So Pop and I, that year we were having a conversation. He was an assistant at Golden State, and they came in to play us, and we're sitting on the bench before the game when players were warming up. And he's like, "Can you believe, what's happening in San Antonio?" I was like, "No,
Wow,
we should have been there, the whole time." And so when he went back as the general manager, and he and RC were in charge, at that point I knew that Pop was going to do the right things. And he brought me back. He brought Avery Johnson back, and made sure that Avery wasn't going to get cut. on Christmas Eve, that kind of thing. And then, you talk about the sense of family. It was like Aaron Popovich, Pop's late wife. She really kept him grounded and started to then help instill this sense of culture and family. And that's why, I get people asking all the time, why are the Spurs so successful? It's because they treat the wives, the girlfriends, the fiance, like gold. And so when you have your kids are included, your family's included in everything, then those are the people that support you, and they encourage you, to be better and to give your all to the organization, because they feel like they're a part of it. Or you see a lot of teams, they won't include the wives or girlfriends. I had an announcer friend years ago, and he said, "You guys allow wives and girlfriends to fly on the plane sometime on trips?" I said, "Yeah." Because we don't do that. We don't do that. And I said, "Well, that's why you guys are 4-24." Because, the other people, people around you are thrown away, and they don't feel like they're a part of it. And in San Antonio, Pop and his crew, they make everybody feel a part of it because they know that family is the most important thing.
Wow. And that was something that I admire about you and my dad as well, back in that early 90s, where it was you and Pop, you Pop Coyote, at HEB, you holding clinics, Taco Cabana commercials, way before the HEB commercials were out. And same thing with my dad as well. He was out there at every school, and still gets recognized to this day. And I feel like now with that background, now Pop still throwing these young guys out. You better go here. You're going to do this clinic. You're going to do this commercial. And that's something that, we don't see that in the league.
Talking to the military bases here in San Antonio.
Right.
All this stuff we see right now, a lot of younger guys making a post on social media, but it's very different being boots on the ground, face to face, being a presence in the city.
That Taco Cabana commercial, by the way, everyone should look into that right there. That's a great one right there.
Go back and look at that.
Yeah.
So, that started, I have to give Red McCombs a lot of credit for that, because he understood that, to build a fan base, you had to get the fans like really behind the team. So Red was sending us out to places all the time. And so the first time I met Pop was the summer of my rookie season. I hadn't played a game yet, but I came here early. The Spurs asked me to go do a caravan in South Texas. And so Pop, the Coyote, a couple of front office people got
That would be Tim Dirk back in the day, right?
Tim Dirk, yeah.
Legend.
Yeah, Tim, he is a legend. He did some crazy stuff. So we got on a little hotel shuttle bus, like at the Marriott Airport, whatever it was, and we rode through South Texas, and we were doing clinics in the parking lot in like August. And like Brownsville, McAllen, Laredo, Uvalde, Victoria, Corpus, Del Rio. We went to all these places, and the Coyote was out there in that hot-ass costume.
Poor guy, I know.
Yeah, and that's how I met Pop, and we were both, we didn't have anything. I remember somebody telling me, "Oh, the Spurs are paying you for this." I was like, "Really? Like, what? How much?" Like, $600. I was like, I was so happy.
So y'all really came up together. You and Pop really did come up together in this team. Wow.
Yeah.
Did like doing all the commercials and like kind of doing the events together? Did you guys like grow closer together and stuff like that? Did that help like the bond?
Yeah, we did, and like Pop and I, several times we did movie reviews together. I don't know if people remember that, but lots of times I would give Pop a ride home after a road trip. We lived almost in the same area, so we'd pack all my stuff in the car and then give him a ride back home, or things like that. And so we kind of, formed a friendship way back when.
Wow. Pop is such a cool guy, even now to this day. While we're there, he always makes a point to come and say hi to the guys. We're trying his team, right? But he doesn't have to.
We're in work mode, we're there for work.
Says hi, shakes hands, see how we're doing. Just
right.
It's almost going the extra mile to just lighten the room up a little bit, right? We're there and we're trying not to make sure everyone's rap. We're trying to make sure everyone's rap, not hurt anybody, especially like, the big guys and all that. Mm-hmm. And he comes in first. One day he came in, first thing he said, Wimby comes in, we're wrapping his hands. If this guy gets hurt, I'm kicking y'all out. It's just so funny to hear that.
Yeah.
Today's episode is sponsored by Raul Rodriguez Law.
When you're in an auto accident, you shouldn't be concerned with legal runarounds, just real advice. You deserve an attorney ready to work for you, an attorney that won't back down.
My parents are from the west side of San Antonio, and they taught me the value of hard work and fighting for what is right.
Raul B. Rodriguez and his team care about ensuring you and your family are represented, whether on the road or in the workplace. Raul is real, and Raul won't back down. Call 210-899-0300 to schedule a free consultation.
Taking it back to 99, right? One of the iconic years here in the city. We got 12 seconds left, 83-85. Memorial Day miracle. Mario Ellie bringing in the ball. One thing I was telling these guys, he had just actually recently just seen that shot.
Yeah.
A couple days ago was the first watch. A couple days ago was the first watch.
19 years old, you can't blame him.
And for me, I'm sorry. And for me, real quick. So I was telling Christian this earlier walking up here. I was 4 years old. I don't want to, age anyone. But I was 4 years old, and I mean this truly. That is probably my first memory that I have is Spurs Minnesota, Spurs Lakers, Spurs Trailblazers, Spurs Knicks. And that shot, they know this. And it's amazing I'm sitting here today. It's that I've reenacted that shot so many times. Even recently. I have it on my phone. But to be here full circle, it's really, really means everything to me. So
we weren't shooting Jordan fadeaways, Kobe fadeaways. We weren't doing any of that. We were tied rope in the sideline. Shooting over.
So I just had to throw that out there. You go ahead.
I take you back, and we're breaking down that play. There's a delay of game call. You already ran through the play, delay of game call.
Right.
And you go up to, you almost are trading. You have Mario Ellie, Steve Kerr, Robinson, Duncan, and yourself, right?
Right.
You're almost going to trade spots with Kerr.
I did.
Right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. The play goes on. And first off, it's amazing that you and Steve were on the same court during that time.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's not lost on anybody. The commentators are saying, I don't know how he's shooting that shot. That's a last second shot.
Yeah.
I was saying these guys, that's the greatest shot, because right now I have Duncan and Robinson under the rim.
Yeah.
I like that.
Just throw it down low.
Yeah, I like that, right?
Yeah.
For the tie.
Exactly. Was that a busted play that you just kind of, you get rid of Stacey Augmon, you got Rasheed Wallace.
Rasheed, man.
Yeah.
I bet his fingernails hit that ball, Is that something that was designed that way, or was that just the first shot that you got?
No, it was a busted play. I was supposed to, either Steve or I was supposed to catch the ball and throw it to Dave down low in the block.
Oh, there you go.
But at that time, it was one of those days. It was just one of those days.
You went 6 for 7.
Yeah, and the one that I missed popped in and out. And so I also had a routine before the game where, you shoot 5 threes here, 5 at the elbow, high elbow, 5 at the top, 5 over here. So you shoot 25 threes before the buzzer goes off. And I think I made 23 to 25, and it just felt good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a player, you have those days. You have days where you're like, damn, the ball's not going in, and it feels good. And you have days where you can be falling away and throw it up there, and it's going to go in.
This one at the gym.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm nasty. Just throw it up there.
Yeah.
Throw it up there.
And that was that day. And when I caught the ball, I didn't think about throwing it to Dave. When I turned, all I saw was the rim.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of when I was golfing with Lee Trevino one time. He goes, hey, the pros, we don't see the traps. We don't see the water. All we see is the fairway, and we see the flag, right? And so all I saw was the rim.
Yeah.
And it's like when I see Rasheed Wallace come out there to block it, I didn't see Rasheed.
I bet. Yeah.
No, I can't.
Never knew that he was there. When I spun and turned, all I saw was the basket, and that day was rolling. And so there was no time to really think about it. There was no, should I pass this ball or not? No, just there it is. There's the rim.
Because your eyes were down. Your eyes were down the whole
I
time.
was about to say that.
Yeah.
Did you do this?
Your eyes were down.
And went up straight up.
Yeah.
Right? You looked down to make sure.
Hell, I don't even know what I did.
Yeah.
But
I see it. Yeah, looking down.
You grabbed the bounce and looked down and shot. At least that's what happened.
Yeah.
Which I was telling these guys too is, back then at that time of the NBA, 12 seconds was not a lot of time. 12 seconds was a last second shot already.
Right.
Now 12 seconds is how many plays? It's like 4 plays. 12
Right.
seconds.
Well, if I miss that shot, the Dave and Tim are underneath the basket.
Yeah.
And they could put it back and there's more time. There's time for an offensive rebound. But at that time, I wasn't really thinking about it. It was just a totally reactive thing.
If it doesn't go in, what does Pop tell you?
Oh, hell, I don't know. I said I'd be at the bottom of Canyon Lake. That's what I tell people.
Did you think you stepped out?
No, I didn't think about it at all.
That's not something you can. I mean, if you give 10 players that shot, they're stepping on the line.
Yeah, and now they. So last year at dinner, Pop told me that they actually changed the rule and they brought my name up in the rules committee.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, and there was a guy from Miami a couple years back that had his toes over the line. They called him out of bounds.
Oh, wow.
Or his heel was over the line. They called him out of bounds, and Pop's like, now that they're considering that out of bounds.
Oh, wow.
I saw that maybe a couple of days ago. I saw a game where some guy put his foot was over the line, but he actually stepped out. But they're talking about now it may be out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the foot's over the line, but not touching. Still,
yeah. Well, thankfully they didn't have that rule in place then.
Yeah, of course.
I was at that game, and I had during the whistle, before the play started up again, I had gotten up. I was with a buddy of mine.
Hands down, what happened?
Hot dog in hand.
We missed it. Yay! No, and so I'd gotten up. I started walking up towards the top to beat the traffic out.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of people at that game.
Yeah, 30 plus.
Yeah.
And so I'm at the top. So the play resumes. This happens. Pandemonium.
The point.
It's crazy. At that time, I mean, you're hugging everybody around, high-fiving, this is it. But I think not just myself, everybody was there. We just felt like this is our year, man.
Yeah.
That one shot changed a lot of things for this community, man.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the that was it.
It's the biggest shot in franchise history.
Yeah.
Out there.
I think so, yeah.
There's a lot of those
was
moments. Like
special.
every championship year, you can trail back to one single moment. We got Tony Parker and the heel on his knees coming up and shooting that shot. You just kind of knew everything's going in. It's our year. You just knew it from that point. I think that was definitely.
But as someone who has watched the game, the Spurs, since maybe the first couple of years in the city, to see us when we would play L.A., the chance would beat L.A., and then we would get beat. Dang it.
Yeah.
And this year after year,
I was wearing my Lakers
year
sweatshirt.
after year, man.
Right.
That one shot just like energized this community like something totally different and fierce. And it was your shot. And the place erupts, it goes crazy, and the rest is history.
I mean, I totally understand that because if you look at our history, 89-90, we had Portland by 7 with 2:45 to play in regulation and took 3 bad shots, and they tied us up with like 2 minutes to play. I know Rod gets all the flack for the pass, but if we just manage the clock, we win that series. And we have Phoenix coming up next. We were 4-0 against them, I think, that year.
That's right.
They had no answer for David. That's a year that we could have been in the finals.
Yeah.
The next year, we get upset by Golden State. The third year, David is hurt for the playoffs. The fourth year, Charles Barkley hits that shot on us. Yeah. When I came back after Detroit, 94-95, we played the Houston Rockets 6 times in the regular season. It was a whole different schedule. Played them once in the preseason. We beat them 6 out of 7.
Wow.
We see them coming. I was watching them beat Phoenix at home, and I was like, all right, because we had Houston's number, and then Akeem goes crazy. Mm-hmm. Next year, we have the best record in the league, those 2 years, and we lose to Utah. And so we were always – something was happening all the time. And then those first 2 games against Portland, they had outplayed us both times. We managed to win the first game, but down 18 in the second half. And you could feel like the energy, the fans were like, oh, damn, here we go again.
Yes, that's right.
Here we go again.
That's it.
That was the first lead of the game. There's 9 seconds left.
Yeah.
Wow. So, oh my bad. So, Knicks get the trophy. Beautiful pass to Little General. We get the trophy. You bring it back, and we'll get into it later. I know there was unfortunate news that you got right after the championship, but bringing it back to the city on the Riverwalk, for us, those are all core memories that we'll never forget.
Yeah.
But as a player, what are you feeling after coming back to San Antonio and everything, all the pieces is falling the way they were supposed to. What's that feeling like?
The only thing I wish would have happened is that we would have won it at home.
Right.
Yeah. Because we won in New York, and we all celebrated after, but it wasn't the same as hearing about people honking their horns.
Oh yeah.
Being able to come down and just celebrate with the San Antonio fans. So the river walk thing was crazy because you couldn't even hear yourself.
Right.
It was like you were on that barge or that boat, and every time you turned the corner, there were more people.
More people
and
screaming.
they hadn't seen you, and they were screaming and screaming. It was like 2 or 3 hours of just waving.
My dad dropped me in the river. Actually, I was waving at you.
There's a lot of babies made that.
Yeah, there were.
That's what I heard. So yeah, that was great.
That's
That was
amazing.
awesome.
I want to go back just a little bit in that championship because this is my hometown, loving the team. That win happens. I remember exactly where I was at. I was at Champs, the sports bar off I-10. They had a major event outside. Big screen. The place was packed. And, everybody ends up on top of tables, high-five and everything. And just like this, people started talking, man, what do we do? I don't know. I'm going downtown. It just started that way.
Yeah, right.
And, this was, it just kind of started. And then the news, you're watching the local news people saying, well, there seems to be some folks kind of coming downtown. All of a sudden, let's just gravitate down there. And then as we worked our way down, because everyone's going, of course, just to celebrate. And you're on 35, about to exit on Commerce Street, but the traffic is almost coming to a standstill because there's not enough cars to go down.
Right.
It was insane,
Yeah,
Sean.
I know that, and I wish we would have been here.
Yeah.
Because we would have been out there too. Our guys. we would have been out there. That's the only part that we missed out.
Almadome at the time, right?
It was.
Yeah.
Drive across the street.
Yeah, walk across the street. Walking with
We would have carried y'all. Come on.
So you win the title, like my brother said. We get unfortunate news that you need a kidney transplant during that point. Your brother Noel comes in, shares a kidney with you. We go through the whole surgery, and then you end up coming back, right?
Yeah.
And I was showing Christian today that interview that you did with Pop, where Pop was just getting really emotional talking about that comeback, right? That drive against Atlanta, that dunk against Atlanta,
Yeah.
and just the emotion that he seemed to have from that core memory for him, right?
Yeah.
He's had so many memories in his basketball career, and that being one of the ones that can really shake him. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? Your accomplishment, right? Your down, your up, your triumph impacts people that way. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it hasn't sunk in. I still have people talk to me about it. I still have people at different arenas around the NBA come up and tell me that they, saw my story and it inspired them. But I did that more, to, prove to myself that I could do it. I think I've always been that way. When I tore my ACL in high school, the doctor told me I was never going to play basketball again. When I got to Arizona, people said, well, maybe you're good enough, maybe you're not good enough. And then when I got to San Antonio, I had to prove myself all over again. It was a different time. A lot of people hadn't seen me play, so I had to kind of start all over again and prove myself. So I felt like I was always faced with a little bit of adversity. But for me, I like that. I enjoyed the challenge. And when I told my doctors I wanted to play again, they were like, oh, we don't really see any reason why you couldn't. You can try. And so for me, I just wanted to take on the challenge for myself. I wanted to meet that head on. Yeah. And that was it was a big challenge. Let me tell you, it was tough.
It's always a challenge to yourself, right? Because I used to get people tell me like, "Yeah, you're not making fighting. You're not this. You're not big enough, strong enough. You're not mean enough. You're too nice of a guy to be in boxing." Now just watch.
Yeah.
Sit back and watch.
Right. And that inspires you. And you think about that when you're getting in the gym or you're working out
every day. Every day.
Yeah. So I wanted to inspire myself. I wanted to. Meet that challenge first, and then whatever came after that, if it's if you inspire people and that's a byproduct of your comeback, well then so be it. But I still kind of struggle to realize, the impact that it has, because I still have people come up to me on a regular basis and tell me, I got a kidney transplant. I saw your story, and I knew that I could make it if you did. And so I think that's pretty cool.
25 years later.
25 years.
25.
This year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my goal too is I'll also, I wanted to get to a point in my life and like health-wise where people never knew that I had a transplant. So sometimes I'm in a conversation with people and I say, yeah, I had a kidney transplant. And they're like,
Yeah.
you had a kidney transplant? I'm like, yeah.
Well, just looking at your career, it seems so up and down. The Leija Family Foundation is all about mental health. And, like you had mentioned, your numbers were only going up in the NBA first couple of years. And then you get traded to Detroit. We had, in previous interviews, we had heard you say that's probably one of your lowest moments, right, of your career, just not being home, not being in a place where you feel comfortable. Coming back, all these ups and downs and all that, that mental fortitude, For me and my brother, growing up with him, seeing greatness in our house, we really see that element in you as well, right? Just that extra little thing that you need to be great, and you really personify that, and that's why I think we're so excited to sit down with you, because it's like, wow, we see
just a little excited. I don't know if I was that excited. I don't know.
We just see those
It's like your dad can tell you. I mean, I think to get to that level, you have to be sane, but you also have to be a little psychotic. You have to be a little crazy to want to pursue something, to try to be a world champion. That's just think about that mentality, where you want to be the absolute best in the entire world.
We call it daring to be great.
Yeah, daring to be great.
A little crazy to dare to be great.
Yeah, I mean, and why not? I mean, if you don't make it, well, at least you've put yourself out there, and you've tried to accomplish something that a lot of people would never even have the courage to do.
But that could be anything. That could be your
anything.
I tell you, in your marriage, in your at your job, it could be anyone.
That's right.
It's dare to be great.
That's right.
So looking at these, you've been covering this. You've been covering basketball for a long time. This is, I think, your 20th year on TV, I believe.
Yeah, it might be. I think I retired in 2001, so this would be 24, 23, 24. I don't even know.
Not to forget, crazy stat that you did call LeBron's first game.
I did.
And for me, I remember that game vividly. So I remember listening to you, and I think, I could be wrong, but I missed like a quarter of that game or something like that, because I was there watching, I was, LeBron James fan, but
I know you did. You missed the first quarter.
Right. And so going back and you see these pivots, you see these crazy moves, and I can't imagine what y'all were thinking.
Well, that's a funny story, because, the national media, they were a little crazy. I was working for ESPN at the time. And so the first game was, I believe, Orlando Magic and New York Knicks, and they were two teams that weren't even very good at the time. And that game went overtime.
That's right.
And so we were sitting there waiting to call the game, and the producers are in their ears, are like, all right, the station, ESPN, they're not going to switch. So we're just going to start this game and call it because we're going to re-air it like 1 or 2 in the morning. And so just call it like everybody's watching like it's live. And everybody who was watching that game around the country missed maybe the first half of the first quarter.
Right.
And we went to break, and LeBron had a steal, dropped one off to Ricky Davis, threw a lob, got another steal and a dunk, boom. And the crowd in Sacramento, they were buzzing.
Yeah.
They were buzzing. And everybody missed it. The entire country missed it, because ESPN wanted to continue to show the New York Knicks.
That's why fumble, right?
They fumbled that one back.
That him and Ricky Davis, and again showing, I remember he had a wide open dunk. He just turns around and says, "Here you go, Ricky."
Yeah.
Like that, showing that experience already.
They probably didn't want to upset the New York market audience.
But
they lost a lot of
the
money.
Knicks weren't good then.
I know what I mean?
So it's like, come
the
on.
great one.
You have the most anticipated athlete in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And everybody missed the first 5 minutes. And the first 5 minutes of the game, you could tell right off the bat, you're like, this kid's a superstar right off the bat.
Right.
Yeah. So starting off with that, and I'm a big fan of you as a player, even more so a big fan of you as a broadcaster. Making lemonade. I can quote you all day long. But losing, your partner in crime, the dynamic duo of Bill Lamb. We're all there. Health first. What can you say about Bill Land and the culture of San Antonio, what he brings to the city? I mean, that's the Spurs voice right there, along with yourself. And, come on, there should be a Bill Land Day, every year leading on now.
Bill's the man. Bill is like, to have a great telecast, you have to have a great play-by-play guy, because he's got to always set the table and set the atmosphere and the mood. And he did that so well. He made every game fun. Like when I'm sitting next to him, it's not like work. It's like two guys having a beer and talking about the game. And so he just made it easy. And when I was at ESPN, I worked with a lot of guys. I worked with Mike Tirico, John Saunders, Brent Musburger, Brad Nessler. I worked with all the greats of the game. And Bill is easily in that class. I mean, he's besides being a great announcer or a great play-by-play guy, he's a hell of a person, and so it just made it easy. And he made the games fun. He just made it fun for everybody. And so we all know that he's irreplaceable. It's gonna, whoever comes in, they're gonna have to bring their own style.
Oh yeah, big shoes
to the telecast. They're gonna have to be themselves. But they have to understand that you cannot replace him, and they'll just have to find or forge their own path, because Bill is, so many people love Bill, and he made my job a lot easier. And he would call me the star of the show, and I was like, Bill, I mean, you're the guy setting the table and making it fun. I feel like I'm just piggybacking off of you, and he's just going to be tough to replace.
Definitely. I would say he's top 2 and he's not 2.
Yeah, that's right.
So the game that y'all are commentating, the game that y'all are seeing, you get a front row seat to this modern day in the NBA. The game that you grew up playing, the game that right? People forget that Memorial Day Miracle. You also made the stop on the other end, and Dan Gear came up with the rebound. Yeah, right. You're a great two-way player. It seemed like back in the day, you needed to be a great two-way player to be in this league, right?
Right.
Kind of coinciding into boxing. Boxing's changed even. Where back in the day, you had to have a well-rounded game. You got to have good power, good boxing ability, good speed, well-rounded fighter. Where right now we're seeing guys get by off power alone, speed alone, maybe less of an intricate game plan going into the fight and just relying on power. Do you see that a little bit in today's NBA where I don't want to say it's a cheaper version of the 90s, early 2000s game, but you see a lot of guys with one-trick stuff, right? They can jump out the building. Right. Maybe they're all shooting from half court. Right. It's a little bit less of a well-rounded game but y'all had. I don't want to say it's a cheaper version, but these guys nowadays are saying, well, we're way better than the 90s guys. We're way better than the
You get started off very easily by saying, well, first of all, for your first 3, years in the league, you missed 1 game, 2 games max.
Right.
And low management's a whole different conversation.
What was the rate in college?
Oh, in college, you played 133 games out of 133 games.
It's on his hands. You got to remember that
one. Your freshman season, you came in right away and played 32 out of 32. You started too. That was the big thing. You started those games.
Yeah. So I think what you're talking about is in every sport right now, right? My friend Kenny Lofton, I was just with him last weekend. He was complaining to me how, everybody's hitting home runs and you're highlighting that. He goes, but they're striking out 300 times. So you have that in pretty much every sport where you're not as well-rounded. I mean, in boxing, you got to have power and speed, but don't you have to defend yourself too, right? And so now in the NBA, like I was talking to the coaches a while back, I said, what's this with this two-way player thing? Like, why is it, they invented this term because, some guys now they don't defend. They don't want to play defense. I mean, you had to play defense to play for us in the first place. Like, if you took a bad shot offensively or you messed up the offense, Pop might not yell at you. But if we talked about a scheme or a game plan when we're forcing Kobe Bryant toward the baseline and David Robinson and Dave's not there or Tim's not there, or I give Kobe middle instead, you better believe I'm going to hear it. It was about defense first, and then the offense is going to come. And so now it's, the game is a lot different, obviously, and I don't want to sound too much like a bitter curmudgeon, but I mean, I see so many mistakes, and sometimes when I'm getting ready to tell a straight up play, I'm like, where do I start? Like, this guy's out of position, this guy's out of position, this guy's footwork is wrong. I can see this guy's jersey when his jersey should be facing toward the bench, and so you see so many mistakes that are being made out there because guys are coming out of school early. Coaches don't have time to teach fundamentals in an NBA practice. You're just trying to get plays in. And so sometimes the game looks a little sloppy to me, and it looks a little discombobulated. But I think that's where we are right now. I don't think we're going to be able to go back.
Yeah, that was the next question: is do you see it changing at all? Do you see it progressing? I wouldn't say back to it, but the WNBA game right now is really reminiscent of the '90s or 2000s NBA game.
Right.
So
right.
It's almost I wouldn't say it's more entertaining. Of course, we have guys jump dunking and all that, but when you look at that game, it's like, wow, this is a beautiful game.
Well, because you have to rely on technique and you have to rely on fundamentals.
Exactly.
Right. You can't just throw the ball up and guys are catching it, 2 feet above the rim, and they're coming down and jacking up threes. One year, Dan Hughes was the coach for the Silver Stars, and he called me. He's like, "Hey, Sean, would you mind coming down and scrimmaging with us?" I'd probably been retired for 6 or 7 years. And I get out there, and he had gotten a couple guys from the Spurs office, and we had 4 or 5 of us, and we're going to scrimmage against the girls. Well, a lot of the guys didn't know defensive technique. They didn't know, like, if your man has the ball and the ball goes here, you're supposed to jump to the ball. If the girl's going to come down the screen, open up a pathway so the man can get through. Everybody's hugging the girl on the balls on the other side, and they were setting screens on us, and guys were just crashing into each other, and it was embarrassing. The girls were sitting there. Becky Hammond's out there wide open shooting. Everybody's all the girls are getting wide open shots because not everybody on our team knew proper defensive techniques. They were just running around there I'm going to stick to my man, and that's not the way it works. And so again, like, I see so much of that nowadays, but in WNBA they're playing the right way because they know technique. They know fundamentals, and that's the way the game is supposed to be played.
And I think that's a part of the reason. I mean, listen, they're exciting to watch, no question about it. And they got some dynamite players, but I think a lot of the reason why people, even before this season, with Caitlin going to Indianapolis, it was already kind of on a trajectory going up because of that same thing. It's very reminiscent of that old school basketball style,
right?
And it's exciting to watch.
I mean, someone chucking enough from half court is only so exciting.
Yeah.
Right.
Even today, like when you talk boxing and talk about that stuff, like, not so happy now because I don't watch boxing a lot now. It's just a real big guy,
right?
I mean, a real big fighter fighting, but. We always go back. Remember the 80s and 90s? That was boxing.
Yes,
that was.
And I was a boxing fan then too. Because it's like you appreciate the struggle. You appreciate the real battle, right? That's what we loved about sports growing up. It wasn't just a free for all, scoring the ball, having 140 to 135. There was actually a struggle to score the ball. It made it more exciting. There was a game 4 or 5 years ago. We had here in San Antonio, and somebody hit a 3, the other team hit a 3, and then we had each team hit 4 or 5 threes in a row. And it was almost like the crowd got bored. They're like, okay,
right. First
another
couple
3, another 3, okay. And that's what it devolved into. And so I can see, like I said, I see that in almost every sport, and I'm sure you see it in boxing.
Yep,
definitely.
Yeah, well, you've seen it a lot across it. The leagues say, according studies, people say they want to see more points scored. You see them even changing baseball, right, to try to allow more runs in, and so it's kind of evolved to that, more of an offensive kind of scheme all the way around in all these different sports. I just don't know how you put the genie back.
Is it an indictment on our society though, right? Because we want instant gratification.
Yes.
Right?
I think
right.
I think you're onto something. I really do. It's just, hey, we scored 100 and we scored 160. I don't.
We were busy. We were moving.
Yeah, we were moving. Yeah,
you
can't put the genie back in.
Right. Yeah. Can't ask them to take it back.
It's kind of hard. It would have to take. I don't know what it's going to take for. But again, sport, it's like life. It's always evolving, and maybe somewhere down the road, something happens. Basketball changes a little bit. Maybe gets back to some of that.
I want to see a little elbow every now and then.
Yeah,
right. Miss a good elbow.
That's all gone now.
Yeah.
Sean, before we get you out of here, we got to talk about current day Spurs, right? We just saw Wemby's first year. We're seeing him come back into this next year. He's got a year under his belt. Got a full off season under his belt. What are you excited to see this coming year from not only Wemby but this team, this new team?
Well, I think Chris Paul was a huge signing for us. We lost so many games last year because of our inexperience, making a lot of silly mistakes down the stretch. We didn't know how to close out games. That was a frustrating part because we had the talent. We just didn't have the know-how.
And it was all fourth quarter. I'm sorry. It's all fourth quarter experience too, really. The last 4 or 5 minutes.
It was fourth quarter.
Bringing him and Harrison in.
Yeah. Fourth quarters, making the wrong pass, taking the wrong shot. Now you have a guy there who's going to be on everybody and hold everybody accountable. This is how we win. This is the right play to make. Give me the ball. I'm going to run this play. I'm going to know how to run this play. Teach you guys the nuances of the game. And so that to me is going to be exciting. With Harrison Barnes, a lot of guys that just know how to win. We had a tough time really figuring out Victor last year, guys on the court. And for me, that was frustrating to watch. But there was a game last year where 3 of Victor's coaches from France all came over. And we talked about how each one of them said each one of their teams had trouble acclimating to him because he's just an anomaly. Yeah. And the fact that the game has changed, it's no longer dump it down to Dave or Tim in the low block. Every big guy wants to gravitate outside. So you have a lot of guys that don't even know how to make an entry pass in the low block or, how to throw it to a guy in the low block. And that was a big problem for us. But I think, when you look at Chris Paul, he's top 10 basketball IQ all time, in my opinion. And that's going to rub off on everybody. And so he's going to make Victor better. He's going to make Devin better. He's going to make Keldon better. He's going to make Trey Jones better. His Stephon Castle, he's going to really help introduce him to the game. So that signing alone is going to make everybody around him, everybody better.
When they got him, I said, they're not getting him for his playing. They're getting him for his teaching.
Right. And for his teaching. And I saw a lot of people online. They're like, well, he's only going to play a certain amount of games. Well, he is, because because Pop is going to not run him in the ground. Pop's might not play him on back-to-back sometimes. Whenever he's gone through a lot of games, Pop's going to rest him. He's going to look after him and make sure he's healthy when we really need him. But more importantly, it's going to be practice situations, shoot-arounds, right? It's going to be in the huddle with the games on the line, and he's going to be in there like, this is what we need to do with this guy and this guy and this guy. And if James steps up on this screen, Victor, that's when you dive. He's going to have all this know-how and knowledge.
It's going to be impacting the locker room, not just what we see on the
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Sean, we've had such a great time here with you today. From 1989 till today, you've been one of the faces of the Spurs, one of our favorite faces of the Spurs. We really want to thank you. We've enjoyed so much spending time with you. We really want to have you on next time. Maybe middle of the year, end of the season. Whenever you got time,
I appreciate it. It's not every day I get to hang out with the Leijas.
We've always said since 99, 80, 98, 99, we were a part of the Spurs family. We really appreciate that title of being just a part of the Spurs family. You've been here for since '89. It is a family. We appreciate the time that we get to spend with the Spurs, spend with you. I can't say enough. I know he's super excited.
I'm just trying to stay silent over here.
Yeah, for sure.
He won't sleep tonight.
No, I'm not. I'm not washing this hand either.
I'm not taking that jersey off. It's not coming off.
Well, Sean, listen, you are a tremendous inspiration to so many people. Your resilience on and off the court, coming back from this major health scare, and the fact that you showed people you can do this, opening up those doors to other people, as you just shared earlier today. I just want to tell you, man, what you truly are, an inspiring person. So it's been an absolute pleasure of mine to be here, to get to meet you for the first time, but just to let you know, as a lifelong San Antonian, thank you for everything. Thank you.
Thank you. I do a lot of what I do is because I love San Antonio. Obviously, growing up in Tucson, I always thought I was going to move back. Like, Tucson's in my blood. But I came here, and a lot of people accepted me and really embraced me, more than even accepting me, just embraced me. And so I love San Antonio. I think if you come here and you don't like it, I think you're a little crazy. I think something's wrong with you. You know,
right.
So no, San Antonio is the place to be, and I'd be a damn fool to want to go anywhere else. I love it here.
Sean,
Lucky for it.
you know, our foundation is really based on mental health, and we want to thank you for showing some of the stuff that you were through and what you go through, your workouts that you do, and to let people know that being physical and moving around is very important for your mind and your health.
It is.
Your mental health.
It's a balance, right? It's mental and physical. That's how I feel. You know, I got to, like I said, I got to get my workouts in.
Yeah.
I've got to spend time with myself a lot, and just, you know, think about, you know, what I need on a daily basis, just to stay mentally healthy. I think that's important. You know, this is something that people didn't talk about 20, 30, 40 years ago. They'd be like, oh, you know, what's wrong with that guy?
Yeah.
And they wouldn't take the time to, you know, think that maybe he's going through something. Maybe, you know, the weight of the world is weighing on him. And so now we're much more aware, and we have to be empathetic, and we have to understand what people are going through, and try to help each other as much as we can.
And you're right. It is, more people are aware of it, but a lot of times it's still taboo to talk about it with family or with friends.
Exactly.
And so we want to bring it out in the open that it's okay, that we all have something. A lot of my clients that come to the gym, they come in just for the mental release of being in the office every day, or having a bad day, or whatever. Men and women or young kids that are being bullied, they come in so they can fight it out, and we teach them how to protect themselves. So it's a little bit of everything.
That's right.
But it's very important. And James is our go-to guide and guiding us the way we wanted to play out with our foundation.
Yeah.
This is an outlet for me. This is a great way for me to like let it out, channel it into a positive thing. You know what I'm saying? Again, thank you for sharing this with us. Thank you for being a part of the Leija Lounge today. Yeah. I think this is a great place to stop. I know you got to get out of here.
No, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
If you enjoy this content, please share this content. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you thought about this episode with Sean. Let us know how great of a guy he is. We know he's great. Also, leave a comment. Mr. San Antonio. To Mr. San Antonio. Please let us know who you would like to see join us in the lounge next time. You might be right next time. Who knows? Please subscribe for more content coming your way. And be on the lookout for next week's Leija Lounge.